take 3. And hello once more, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to another edition of the Druids Dozen. My name's John, known in certain circles as the Rock Druid. I've been a radio DJ for many, many years, and basically I've got a couple of radio shows. There's the Sunday Rock Show, BCFM Radio, 93.2 in Bristol and in the UK, and there's the Astro Radio Show, the Rock Druid, where the name comes from, and that goes out 3 times a week on astroradio.earth. Links for those shows are going to be down there on Facebook, down there on YouTube, over there on Facebook, so yeah, check them out. Yeah, basically this is me raiding my record collection, dragging out a dozen items thereof and talking about them for a little bit. So without further ado, we'll kick off with this one. Yeah, Raven, All for One, 1983. This is the American edition on Megaforce Records. The original British pressing was on Neat Records. Raven, out of Newcastle in the northeast, 3-piece power trio, you know, a British heavy metal band. Bit Motorheady, you know, if you're into bands like so, also other kind of bands in the similar vein, Angel Witch, Vardis, etc. Tank, maybe, that kind of vein. This is their 3rd album and a pretty damn good one. Tracks on here like Sledgehammer Rock, All for One, the title cut, where you're standing in a line with your swords in the air. Brilliant stuff. Hung, Drawn and Quartered, Seek and Destroy, Athletic Rock. Just really good stuff. You got 2 brothers. I'll show you the back. Well, I'll show you the back now. 2 brothers. You got Mark Gallagher and John Gallagher. I can't remember. No relation to the Oasis crew, of course, or Rory for that matter. They're the guitars and bass and vocals and that. And then you got Rob Wacko Hunter on drums there. This is the last of their 3 great cult British studio albums. There's also Live at the Inferno, which is a really good live album as well. But then after this album came out, Raven got the Lure stateside, and they were out there for some time with a series of rather disappointing releases, some of which may show up on here from time to time, but yeah, I tend to ignore them because yeah, the early albums are the best one. This is probably my favourite of the Raven albums, to be honest with you. Produced by Udo Dirkschneider, who also recorded some tracks with them at this time for an EP. And about 2 years ago, this had in the UK at least a reissue on CD, vinyl and digital download, with the Udo Dirkschneider tracks recovered from the archives and added as bonus cuts. Makes for a very good listen. So yeah, Raven, All for One, 1983, some classic new over British heavy metal for you. Okay, next up, we'll have something a little bit more contemporary. This is The Separation, Our Lives in Cinema, a 5-track EP from 2010. There's the front. There's the back. Pop this open. There's the disc. Engineer Records, as you can see. Quite a good label, Engineer. Well, I haven't heard anything from them for a bit, but they were really good at doing the kind of UK underground stuff. Anyway, there's the back of the book, and if I go through the book here, you've got a kind of lyrics kind of written out as if they're a film script, which is quite a good idea. Anyway, the Separation, they're a band that I don't know that much about. This is the only thing that I've got by them. They're a kind of London-based London-based kind of sort of emo-y kind of alternative rock pop punk outfit. You know, you think in the terms of My Chemical Romance, but with Cockney accents, you're on the right line. They're not bad. I'm not going to say they're my favourite band on earth, because they've got a long way to go to get that. You know, they're not the Mighty Blue Oyster Cult or Demon, for example. But, you know, these guys were quite competent. You got two pretty good guitarists in the form of Stephen Andrews and Phil Christopher. Pretty good rhythm section with Aaron McSporran. That can't be right, surely. But anyway, and Greg Talbot and Mark Bartlett on vocals. You know, who's a pretty good vocalist. There's so it's a 4-tracker. Being Serpico is probably my favourite cut on the album, but the others, which are Stutter, Sleep Trash Deep, 18 and the title track Our Lives in Cinema, are equally good. Our Lives in Cinema is a really good song as well. Yeah, don't know much else about this. This arrived, gave it airplay, and then I haven't heard from the band since. So, if they're still together, what else they've released or not, I don't know. But if you find a copy of this floating around anywhere, it's worth a listen. And I have seen this for sale still on Bandcamp as digital download. Although physical copies may be a bit harder to obtain. So downloads of this are available if you want to go and check them out. Yeah, The Separation, Our Lives in Cinema, 2010. Okay, next up we'll have a great band, but in my opinion a sad album. Here we go, there's the front. This is Built to Last by the Grateful Dead from 1989. There is the front. There is the back. Pull this out. There are the dead heads themselves. There's the credits. Slide this out of Hydra Records there. And nothing on the run out grooves. Now, this is the Grateful Dead's last album. Within a couple of years of this coming out, Jerry Garcia, Brett Midland both went to the Great Gig in the Sky. And the others decided, without two of the band's biggest songwriters and contributors, Bob Weir, decided to call it quits, and the Dead were no more. And as their last album, Legacy, this isn't that great a record, to be honest with you. Don't get me wrong, I love the Grateful Dead. I mentioned the other week when I was talking about In the Dark, that album got me at the Grateful Dead. I have several other Grateful Dead albums in the collection. I have even more digitally, and you know, they're a band that I still do like. However, this album is disappointing. Maybe it's because it comes after In the Dark, which in my opinion is probably one of their strongest ever albums. But even then, you know, when you look back at the Grateful Dead's catalogue and look at albums like The Working Men's Dead, American Beauty, Our Moxa, Blues for Allah, etc., you know, this struggles to keep the standard up. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a very well played album. But Performances on here, they're good. The production's first rate. It's just that when you go through the tracks, with the possible exception of the song Victim or the Crime, it comes over as a little bit disappointing. There's nothing on here memorable enough to kind of, it hasn't got a touch of grey or a trucking or you know, one of those great, or you know, Steel Magnolias or a track like that. It's just kind of almost like Grateful Dead by numbers. So Victim or the Crime is probably the standout track. I Will Take You Home, the closing cut, a sweet little kind of mellow number, but beyond that, it doesn't really excite me, which is a shame because, like I said, I'm a huge Grateful Dead fan, and you know, they didn't know this was going to be their last album at the time. You know, no one knows what the Reaper's going to call, but it would have been nice to think that the Dead could have ended on a bit of a higher note than this one. But yeah, say the V, as I say, and yeah, so I would, you know, I'd say give it a listen, but for real fans of the band only. If you fancy listening to the Grateful Dead, look elsewhere. In the Dark, American Beauty, Blue Strala, in my opinion, are the best ones. Working Men's Dead's quite good as well. But yeah, Grateful Dead fans and collectors only, in my opinion. The Grateful Dead, built to last, 1989. I need some water. It's very hot in here today. Right. Okay, next up. Yeah, I'll have another CD. Here we go. There is the front. This is Party in a Forest with Ashes from 2013. There is the front. There is the back. There is the disc. Behind the disc we have a sleeping dog. And here's the booklet. There's the front. Lyrics and artwork. And no credits, unfortunately. But on the back, oh, there is credits there. There's a little note that says, "Hey John, this is the new The Cure album. Haha, just kidding. But it seems very ho to them. Recommend track number 4. Enjoy. All my love, Laura." Now Laura, I can't remember her second name, but she was a German girl that worked for the Italian new model label, and she was my contact at the company. Used to be in a band called Lunacy Box, and we're still mates now. She's now a professional photographer. But you know, at the time she was working as a A&R lady for Italian label, new model label, and she was sending me their latest releases, hence the reason why a lot of these are turning up on here at the moment. Party in a Forest, as she said, they're a bit Cure-ish, but on the other hand they got a bit almost a bit of like a Black Rebel Motorcycle Club vibe to them. You know, they're a lot heavier than the Cure ever got, although they still have this kind of sort of semi-gothic, kind of indie goth kind of vibe to them. Tight band, 3-piece, and as far as I'm aware, this is their one and only album. But it's quite a good one. As she recommends, track 4, I like it now. Track 4, Going Nowhere. Very, very good track, but there again, so's other songs on here like Before You Go, Take Me Home, Dawn, Everybody Walks Alone, I've Been Blind, yeah, No Reasons Why. Just a sweet record. Yeah, if you're into kind of a bit of the Cure maybe, but like I said, also Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, maybe even hints of the Arctic Monkeys maybe, or some of their mellower moments, then you know you would find this album very accessible and very enjoyable. Yeah, current availability unknown, but new model label are still going, so if you contact them they may have some in their warehouse. So yeah, Ashes by Party in a Forest from 2013, sorry. Good stuff. Okay, next up, a bit more vinyl, and we'll have this. Now the other week I talked about Toto 4 and said that it wasn't my favourite Toto album. That sparked me into dragging this album out, which is my favourite Toto album, giving it a bloody good listen, and decided to bring it to you today. Yeah, there's the front. There is the back. This is Hydra, by the way, from 1979. Open it up, you've got a gatefold that goes lustily. Here we have a lyric and credits and credit sheet. Slip this out, nothing on, there we are, CBS Records, and nothing on the run out. Oh, hang on a minute. Oh no, it's just catalogue number. Now, I mentioned Toto last week, seminal US stadium rock band. You know, best known for that album Toto 4, of the big hits Rosanna and Africa. But, like I said, I do tend to find, although Toto 4 is a very good album, please don't get me wrong, it's a very good album, I do tend to find it a bit mainstream. This album, on the other hand, is a very eclectic mix. Maybe too eclectic, I don't know. But it shows that, you know, Toto were a damn fine set of musicians. Well, they're all established session musicians before they formed Toto, weren't they? But, you know, this shows the band having many, many varied sides and doing it very well. My favourite section is the opening cut. You've got an instrumental called the Hydra, which is the title cut, goes into a belting little number called, well, little number, it's about 8 minutes long. It's called St. George and the Dragon. Full-blown prog rock epic. You know, got some great lyrics. It got some heavy parts, it's got some dancey parts, it's great. Then you got a track called 99, which is apparently inspired by the George Lucas's early film, THX 1138. Very strange, surreal sci-fi film if you've ever seen it. And here they got a song that's loosely about the film. But they do it in a kind of funk, sort of P-funk kind of variation. Lots of kind of stack harmony vocals and lovely guitar chops. Other highlights on here include the equally funky All Us Boys. Well, that's a bit funky, and then goes into a bit of a rock and roll chorus. You have got a nice power ballad with A Secret Love, the closing cut. But overall, this album lays out some, shows the full range of what Toto were capable of. And as far as I can remember, having heard a lot of Toto stuff, this is the album that kind of stretches them to their best. It's the most diverse stylistically, and probably their most interesting album. Once they had those big hits, albums after 4 tended to be a bit bland, about albums like Isolation, etc. But this one, is a great album. If you've not heard Toto, this, or you have only heard the hits of Toto 4, I do recommend you go and you give this one a look. Hydra by Toto, 1979. Absolutely bleeping classic album. Okay, next up, we're going to have a cassette. I've drunk a couple of these out in the past, and a couple of my regular viewers have said, "Oh, that's nice." So I thought I'd do another one. This one's again primarily aimed at anyone in the Bristol area of the UK. Can you remember this lot? This is a band called Thirst, and this came out in 1996. Yeah, there's the front. There is the cassette. Should have rewound that, shouldn't I? I know. I'll get onto that afterwards. And that's the well, actually just folds out like that. It's a demo cassette. Now, Thirst were one of those bands, so I'll need a fisherman's friend. Stand up like that while I'm chatting for a minute. Oh, you don't want to stand up like that, never mind. Thirst were one of those bands that every town has them, every scene has them. They promise so much. They had the following, they had the looks, they had the music, and they could have gone places. However, having talent, good looks, great music, and being a really nice guy sometimes just isn't enough. And despite the best efforts of a load of people in the Bristol music scene, including me and a couple of friends that were part of their management team, I used to be their publicity man. Used to write the press releases and design their gig posters, etc. We had a guy called Terry was their road manager, if I remember rightly, and my mate Donna did the kind of ringing round. And you don't say no when Donna's on the case. You don't say no to Donna. She'll book the gigs. Anyway, Thirst, musically, they're if you can think of bands like REM, Len Jericho, the earlier U2, before U2 really sucked, I'm talking about the early days, sort of the Boy October type albums. Hits the Simple Minds. That's the kind of sound they got. Big rock sound. Excellent musicians. Had a superb frontman who could really entertain a crowd. Can't remember his second name. First name was Warren, but the guy could really kind of give a performance. This was the first of 2 demo cassettes they brought out. The second one I got over the back there somewhere. It's called Orange. I will drag it out at some point in the future. Tracks on here, you've got a Mouth Waiting, which is great. Have I Got Your Attention, which is even better. Outside Love, and probably my favourite song this band ever did, Addiction, the Junkies song. Excellently played. I can't remember any of the other names of the guys in the band apart from the vocalist Warren. But yeah, these guys promised much. They went all over the country. They gigging. They played London, Birmingham, went up as far as Manchester and that. Played with Len Jericho and what Spirit of Destiny was it? Theatre of Hate. They toured with, but sadly they never got the breaks. They had record labels will come looking, but they'll never actually commit. So in the end, the band had a bit of a lineup change and called themselves Job for a bit, and then vanished off the face of the earth. Shame, waste of a great band, but you know they have left a couple of great demo cassettes behind them, and I really want to, if I get around to it and manage to get hold of some permissions to do so, get the 2 albums digitised, do 2 cassettes digitised and put out as a little kind of Can You Remember Thirst package, just for kind of free download for people that want to experience what a great band they were for their own right. Yeah, and just a little side note, lead vocalist Warren, whatever his name is, Warren Spencer I think it was. Anyway, he's now on telly every year because he works as a zookeeper at Bristol Zoo, and he's the creator of the insect house. And of course he has thousands and thousands of insects to count, and when they have the annual census of animals in Bristol Zoo, Warren's always there saying, I have 400 stick insects and 2,500 ants and whatever, you know. So yeah, so if you ever go to Bristol Zoo and you're in the insect house and you see the kind of senior keeper there, go up and say, hey, you're Warren, used to be in Thirst. It'll freak him out. Yeah, Thirst, going to be like hen's teeth to get hands on this, but hopefully one day either me or someone will give it a digital release just for posterity. Thirst from 1986. 96 demos cassette. Okay, next up we'll have another CD. We'll have this one, Painkiller by Energy Orchard, and this one was 1995. There's the front. There's the back. There's the Energy Orchard boys themselves. There's the disc. Open this up. Typically pictures of the band. Lyrics. More pictures of the band. Credits, etc. Now, Energy Orchard came out of Belfast in the late 1980s. They were, you know, kind of on the sort of second wave of that big Celtic stadium rock invasion. You know, kind of, the first wave was U2, The Alarm and Simple Minds, along with bands like the Hot House Flowers and the Waterboys, came Energy Orchard. Rose to fame rapidly with their debut single Belfast, which was a minor hit in the UK, a huge hit in Ireland, and was was a featured song on EastEnders. They had some plot line involving Northern Ireland on EastEnders, and Belfast was featured on it. Followed that up with a song called Atlantic City, which is an absolute storming track. A real kind of Celtic rock and roller. The debut album, Energy Orchard, was huge. They then went on to release 4 other albums, of which this is the 4th and final one. There is a live album as well, but I'm just talking about studio albums at the moment. And although they never managed to recapture that kind of wave of success that the first album did, they kept the quality of the record, the quality of the albums up. And this album overall is just as good as that first one. And yeah, I do like this. Highlights on here: Surrender to the City, the Shipyard song, I'm Wasted, lovely instrumental called DF Dog, title cut Painkiller, which is a bit of a rocker. You know, they kind of got that kind of Celtic lighter wavy rock going. I mean, I saw these guys live, and they could lean on it when they wanted to, especially live. I mean, their live album has got not quite metal, but it's definitely falls into the heavy rock category in places. Yeah, just a sweet record. I mean, all of the Energy Orchard albums are pretty damn good. You know, and although my favourite is still the first one, I still rate them all just as highly, including this. Sadly, the band demised. Not that I did this. There was a live album that came out, I recorded on the tour for this, and then they went their separate ways. Like most people that end from Irish bands, I don't mean this patronisingly, but most of the guys ended up going off to the Irish folk scene. And I've got a mate of mine that's a massive into the Irish folk scene. He was telling me a while back that there's a folk band on the circuit at the moment, 2 or 3 members of Energy Orchard in it. And then you got Bap Kennedy, the lead singer and guitarist. He went on to become a producer and a songwriter, as well as doing some solo stuff in his own work. And he's worked with people like Van Morrison and I think Sinead O'Connor and Steve Earle, I think he worked with as well. Kind of some very interesting people, and he's still kind of going to this day. Yeah, not much else to say really. Just check Energy Orchard out. This album's the first album's the best one, but they're all pretty damn good. And this one, their final one, Energy Orchard, Painkiller, is pretty damn sweet anyway. So yeah, Energy Orchard, Painkiller, 1995, good stuff. Okay, next up we're going to have some new wave of British heavy metal-ish type stuff with this. This is My Kingdom Come by Nightwing from 1984. There's the front, there's the back. No lyrics are on the sleeve, but I'll pull this out. Is that? No. One of these days I will find a run out groove message. I know I've got lots of them, just I'll get the full one out. But anyway, Goal Records, quite an obscure label, probably best known for being early label Judas Priest, and they did survive into the 80s and bring us stuff like Nightwing. Nightwing, band out of originally, I find right, they're out of Devon. One of these bands, they were going since the mid-70s, but kind of got caught up with the new over British heavy metal studios, the over British heavy metal movement. Yeah, they just had to be a heavy rock band on the scene at the time. Oh, it's got to be new over British heavy metal. But these guys, they were a little bit more, you know, they were less Motorhead, Iron Maiden. They were more kind of Uriah Heep, Atomic Rooster, that kind of vein. Damn fine band. Did a string of albums. This one, co-produced by Steve Hackett, the Genesis guitarist, and there's a cover of the Steve Hackett number Cell 151 on here. Let's have a look. Yeah, the vocalist on this one is Max Bacon, who would later go on, after this album came out, he quit the band and went on to sing with the Steve Hackett band and with GTR, an album which I've dealt with earlier on, which is the Steve Hackett and Steve Howe's rather disastrous guitar prog supergroup kind of thing. The Hackett input on here gives this album a distinct prog rock vibe, although it still keeps itself fairly heavy in places. The Devil Walks Behind You is my favourite cut on this one, opening cut aside, so nothing to do with, it's Death Walks Behind You and it's Atomic Rooster, but similar kind of vein. Behind the Eight Ball, Men of War, My Kingdom Come, Back on the Streets, Fingers to the Fire, all good stuff. There's additional guitar solos on here by Steve Hackett, and overall just makes for a really sweet album. Roger Dean album cover and logo and that. What more do you want? Well, yeah, as I say, sadly, Nightwing, again, one of these bands never really got the breaks they deserve, and ended up where they now filers. But I can tell you that Gordon Rowley, who's the bass player on here, his son plays in a Bristol band called Brockley Forest, who I talked about their EP, one of their EPs earlier in the show, earlier in the series, one of the very early episodes. So you know, keeping it in the part, and apparently his father still does playing covers bands and a lot of local blues bands, etc. So down in Devon. So overall, pretty good. You know, worth exploring if you're into the new over British heavy metal. Yeah, Nightwing, My Kingdom Come, 1984. Go back to Bristol now, and another kind of local band. This is Break the Mould by Keiro in 2007. There's the front. There is the back. Pop this out, there's the disc. There's the credits on the back. Open this up. There's the lyrics there. Again, well, is there anything behind the disc? No, there isn't. Keiro, Bristol kind of alt rock band. Little bit indie maybe. You know, I know I say this, but vibes of Biffy Keiro. Nothing wrong with being a bit biffy in places. Yeah, sweet band. Came across these first of all. One of the first bands I came across when the BCFM Sunday Rock Show launched. One of the first bands I had in the studio for an interview. And saw them live a few times. I think my band Alien Stashed ended up on the same bill with them. They were active for a couple of years around Bristol, then kind of disappeared somewhere. Like Ben Shepherd, one of the guys in the band, I think he's maybe still active in other bands all these years later. I'm not sure. If you see this, Ben, let me know what happened to you and your colleagues here. Yeah, sweet little 4-track EP. 4 tracks, Break the Mould, Set the Start, 2-part Return, Wait for Me. Everyone's a sweet little nugget, a kind of some like poppy alt rock. Well, fairly well played. Production's okay-ish, but sorry. Yeah, but like I say, but we are talking, you know, local band self-released EP job here. So, you know, it's recorded at some shed studio up in Foxley near Bristol. You know, we're not talking Abbey Road here, so don't expect Abbey Road production. Not much else to say really. Just a good little kind of 4-track EP, fairly typical of what was going on in the Bristol scene at the time. And one that I gave it a listen for the first time in a good few years this morning actually, before I came on here, and still found it quite enjoyable. Again, you're going to have a hell of a job finding this album. I was trying to find some more details of the band on the net earlier. Good luck. So this is going to be like hen's teeth to find, but on the other hand, maybe worth, you know, you may get lucky, especially around the Bristol area, find a copy knocking around the charity shop. So yeah, Keiro, Break the Mould, 2007. Rare, but worth looking out for. Okay, next up, we'll have another bit of vinyl. We'll have some God rock. Here we go. Back to the Street by Petra from 1988. There's the front. I've got to admit, I do like the cover of that. Very cool. There's the back. Slide this out. Lyrics and credits. There we are, Star Song Records. It's a specialist Christian label. And nothing, no run out groove messages on there, just a catalogue number. Now Petra were they're a Christian rock band. One of the earlier ones actually. They formed in about 1974, and they built up. They're one of these bands that built themselves up a fair reputation, despite being, along with like some of the other earlier kind of Christian rockers, like the Resurrection Band. They began to kind of, because they were damn good musicians, they began to kind of pick themselves up the following beyond just your local church and Christian youth club. You know, their albums, you know, garnered some secular praise, and not without reason. In the early days, they were a bit like the Eagles, the Allman Brothers Band, touch of Lynyrd Skynyrd maybe. You know, definitely kind of country rock. Then as the 80s came around and the MTV thing cooked in, their sound began to change a bit, and they went a little bit kind of I don't know, Styx, Saga kind of vein, and again they were very good at it. However, the late 80s music taste change, and they fell down the trap that many Christian rock bands fell down. Because you're not playing for the love of the music, you're playing for the love of Jesus and trying to bring Jesus to the kids. You've got to remain relevant to the kids. 1988, stadium rock's on its way out. What's coming in? Well, you've got grunge, you've got bands like alt rock stuff like REM, 10,000 Maniacs, those kind of bands coming through. So whether it's the band themselves kind of trying to change their sound, or whether it was a record company or the pastors saying, hey up, you better modern your sound up, otherwise the kids ain't going to listen to you or know about Jesus anymore. They released this album, and it's a dog's dinner. Now, those of you out there that know Petra, don't get me wrong, please don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking their religion. I am not knocking their earlier albums. I have several other albums by Petra which are very good. However, this is not a good album. If you can imagine, I don't know, a band like Wet 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 suddenly decided to make themselves more relevant and releasing a hardcore punk album or an industrial rave album, it's not going to work. So, and this is what Petra's done here. They've tried to kind of go all edgy. They cut back on the guitar solos. They tried to get a bit more REM-y. They got a bit more angsty. And it's a dog's dinner. It doesn't work. This is a band that's well outside their comfort zone and well out of their depth and drowning. This album annoyed me that much. This was the last Petra album that I ever brought. What they did after this, because the band still going. They were still going into the 2000s, I know. But you know, this album stung me enough not to go back. You know, I'll go back to their earlier albums, titles of which have just escaped me, or the Brainwave. But no, I just like the cover. But beyond the cover, I think this is pretty poor. If you want to explore Petra, go to any of their earlier albums, anything that came out from 1985 or before, and avoid this album and anything after. Yeah, Petra back on the streets. A big disappointment. Okay, next up, we'll have this. This is Illumination by Awake from 2011, I think. I'll check on the inside in a minute. Anyway, there's the front. There's the back. The artwork on here is pretty poor, I'll admit. Naughty Awake for doing such poor artwork. I suppose they had their reasons. But anyway, pop this open. There's a disc. Actually, I think this is 2009. Can't think of it. Although I still can't find a date on the thing. Anyway, lyrics. Pictures and credits. Band picture, more credits. Yeah, I think it's 2009. Although I'm not 100% sure. If anyone out there remembers Awake, please let me know. Anyway, Awake, prog metal. They're out of Cambridge. They were out of Cambridge. Did a couple of albums. This is their first. They did another one, which I think is about 2013, and then broke up. Broke up with them a year or two later. I remember seeing these guys live and doing an interview with them, a phone hookup interview with them, when they played Bristol. And I think that was when they did their next album, their second album. This album's pretty good. Cuts on here to include the title cut, Illumination. There's The Price You Have to Pay, Choices in Time, Crime of Passion, My Last Goodbye. All good stuff. yeah, they got a bit of the kind of Arch Matthias kind of vibe going. You know, maybe hints of Dream Theater, but they're a lot heavy. But I can find Dream Theater very self-indulgent, very much on their own backside. These guys aren't. These guys are, you know, they keep it metal. Progressive, yes, but still definitely metal. They're, you know, they have got the old, you know, kind of Maiden Priest vibe in here, as well as kind of, you know, your Dream Theater, Arch Matthias, oh god, brain fade. But you know, your classic prog, early 80s prog metal kind of thing. Hints of Demon, maybe even. Very, very good album. The band broke up, say, about 2014, 2015. Although, just before Christmas, their Facebook page sprouted a post saying, it's been so many years since you broke up, but just let you, that people are still interested in us. Just to let you know that all the band members are working in other bands and are still gigging around. I can't remember the names of the bands they're in, but yeah, all the band members are still going, which is great. Yeah, so I don't know how available this is going to be. I know their Bandcamp page is still available, so maybe you can download it off there or just stream it maybe. But yeah, Awake, Isolate, Illumination, sorry. Good stuff indeed. And yeah, move on to the final vinyl. It's a final double vinyl today. Here we go. Pandora's Box of the Original Sin, written and produced by Jim Steinman. Oh, I love a bit of Jim Steinman, me. There's the front. There's the back. There's the gatefold. Whip this out. You've got lyrics and credits. Virgin Records there. And more lyrics on that side there. Now, Pandora's Box, or a one-off project of Jim Steinman's, just something that he put together with. Basically, he wanted to do a kind of rock opera girl group. Yeah. So that image, he recruited 4 fine female vocalists. I mean, these girls are great. I mean, the best known one is probably Eileen Foley, who was one of Steinman's go-to vocalists. She sung with him on Meat Loaf. She did backing vocals for Bonnie Tyler, his Fire Incorporated stuff, and his solo album. Eileen Foley shows up on all of them. The other ones I'm not so sure of who they are. You got Gina Taylor, Deliria Wild, and Elaine Caswell, making up 4 female vocalists. Hello, Girls Aloud, girl band type thing. And then you have Jim Steinman on keyboards, and then dragging in again some of his go-to session guys from you know, his own solo band, Meatloaf's Neverland Express, etc. Roy Britton on additional keyboards, along with Jeff Bova. Drums by Jim Browler, Eddie Martinez on guitar, and Steve Buslow on bass. And basically, that's all you really need to know. It's Steinman's excellent sort of like songwriting. There's a couple of tracks on here. Is it All Coming Back to Me Now, and yeah, Good Girls Go to Heaven, Bad Girls Go Everywhere, which are tracks re-recorded from his solo album Bad for Good. Dealt with a good few episodes ago on here. you got you got the single on here, which was a minor hit in the UK. Again, typical Steinman song called Safe Sex. Make no such thing as safe sex when it comes to loving you. Good stuff indeed. But yeah, it just goes on. There's My Little Red Book, I Just Won't Quit. The Future Ain't What It Used to Be, the big closing epic on side 4. The Original Sin, The Natives Are Restless Tonight. It's just a great piece of music. Classic Steinman. Maybe not as kind of as accessible because of the format of being a girl group. It's not maybe as accessible as his work with Meat Loaf or so, but it's still kind of damn fine. Steinman, you know, you got some great vocal performances. Steinman's songwriting is Steinman's songwriting, and yeah, 1989 this came out, and again, one I hadn't played for a while until I prepared for today. Gave it a listen and shut my eyes, and I was in heaven for about an hour or so, because it's just a great record. Yeah. Pandora's Box, Original Sin, 1989. The written and produced by Jim Steinman. So that's it for this week. I want to say a big hi to some of my regular viewers. Hi, Nikki in Bristol. No, she said she listens on a Sunday afternoon with a cup of tea and a biscuit. So hope you've enjoyed this one. And then she makes notes of anything she fancies and goes and tries to track some stuff down on YouTube or the internet. So yeah, let me know what you found out this week and what you enjoyed. The rest of you, thanks for watching. Like and share if you like. It just helps kind of let people know, let YouTube know that people are watching, and spreads the message a bit further. If you want to leave a comment down there on YouTube, over there on Facebook, feel free to disagree with me, pull me up if I've made any mistakes, which is highly likely because I do. And yeah, and give me any feedback if you, on any of the albums that you might have seen or acts that you've seen that you've got personal memories of. So it's always good to chat to fellow music fans. So that's it. Don't forget to check out the radio shows. There's the info down there and over there. And so until next week, peeps, loving every single last one of you, and I'm out of here. Bye.